Beautiful shots.
Yeah,
beautiful. No, she crushed it.
I just love the framing in this. I mean, it's such an excellent looking film. And then we also, what I think is interesting is we talked about Blackcoat's daughter, which is, it kind of uses horror as a way to sneak in other themes. So,
Yes.
and so does this. I mean, this one uses, anger and werewolves to kind of talk about how anger and alcoholism pop up. And then we had Blackcoat's daughter, which was all about loneliness. So it's, I don't know. I love it. I think it's just what I love about horror. You sneak in certain, really relevant issues into a horror movie. And the one thing I worry most about this film is werewolf fans are pretty diehard. So when people watch this movie and are like, oh, I'm in for a werewolf picture. This is going to be amazing. It's going to be really interesting to see their reactions to this because, spoiler, it's not a werewolf, it's a human, a taxidermist, and I love how they built to that. We'll talk about all the clues that they led into later on. But but then they'll witness John's anger and just his fist fights, and oh man, he's hilarious. I love that opening scene. Have you met my wife? Woof. Yeah, you met her. Oh man. I mean, and then the only way to stay sober is to stay focused. Wait, what was that? And he just loses focus immediately.
I love that. Immediately. Yeah. That's how you start, him just like starting to lose it. I mean, because that's what's so good. Like, John's having a hard time how everyone else is dealing with these murders, right? Because they want to they can't believe that a human can do something this bad. No, it has to be a wolf. No, it has to be a werewolf. Like, these guys will literally rather believe like this mythology than admit that, humans and men are incapable of terrible, terrible things done to women. So, I mean, but let me just finish this thought first. So much to
this is MFF. We go everywhere. We pinball, so it's all good.
Everywhere.
Go wherever you want. It's fun.
So he's having a hard time. How everyone else is dealing with the murders, yelling at them, when do I get to be right about something? But he also seems incapable of dealing with anything himself. It starts off, It starts off all quirky with him rolling his eyes at his sheriff dad, freaking out about never having seen such a murder. And he rolls his eyes at the Pray for Brienne sign. He rolls his eyes at his co-workers at first, where they can't even call it a vagina. He's you guys need to deal with this case, but you can't even call, what do they keep saying? Her parts.
Her parts.
And now let the feral guys deal with it. We don't. It's guys, her murder is in our hands. This is why they say cops are bad, because you guys are just freaking incapable. But then he slowly how his frustration escalates and how everything just escalates. I think it was I love the script of this whole thing. I love all the lines. I love the way it just slowly unravels. But from the get-go, okay. There's these little things that show you, okay, this guy is about to lose it. This is a descent into madness for him.
He's about to thunder road it.
He's about to thunder road it. I just love it. I love this movie.
Is he a good cop?
He tries to be.
He's smarter than the other ones, right? But not Julia.
What I love is that he's a very flawed character from the beginning. I mean, we open up where he's hi, I'm John, I'm an alcoholic.
Wolf.
Then he's got wolf. And then he's got these scenes, where he's taking out his buddies for not taking this seriously. But then he would also then say things like, who would want to throw a beer bottle at a cop car? He's and I think it shows so well, because I think that's all of us, we think we're aware of stuff, but everyone has their blind spots, and you think you do well, but everyone has their blind spots, everyone has their faults, and so I think his character is very cool in that he's not just a plain good guy trying to do the right thing. He's messed up. His whole thing with his wife in the beginning, it's also Jim Cummings is great with opening speeches.
Yes, he is.
Jim, we want you to do that in every freaking movie. Start with that great opening speeches. Thunder Road was just delightful. But this one too. And he gave us so much, his whole attitude towards his wife and how he feels. And because he says, he doesn't want anyone to get hurt, but he does want that, lawnmower to just go through the house and just destroy. But what does he say? because it just feels like he wants someone to
listen to him,
acknowledge that he exists.
Yeah. Oh,
or
that's what it is.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Yep.
You know, so it's like from the get-go, you see, okay, it's a pretty nuanced character. He's flawed.
His mother
but
left
he's
him,
trying.
and he wants to impress her.
He's trying, and
his poor mom left him, right? Is this because your mother left you and you want to impress her?
No.
I'm the one asking questions here. You go to bed. Remember that? But it's such a brutal descent. And then he punches himself in the tooth. Knocks that thing out.
Oh my gosh.
He's a menace.
I love, when the first time I watched this movie, the reason that I liked it so much was because I laughed at the anger.
Yes.
Because I think anger is so destructive and can make us all fools, absolute fools. Like, we've all seen someone just absolutely losing it. So angry, we look ridiculous when we do that.
Mm-hmm.
You think you maybe look like something in a movie, but you don't. You just look foolish and ridiculous. And I think that's what he did with this movie. Every time John, his character John, freaked out and slapped someone or something, it wasn't like this, ooh, punch, bah, I got a shot in. It was ridiculous little slaps, like where he slaps the coroner, or where one of the cop guys, when he's like, hey, can I talk to you? And he takes him away from the scene, and they try to fight, but it's just ridiculous and it's so funny. I mean, I really enjoyed that because it showed the ridiculousness of how we think we become these big, beware of me, monsters, and get out of my way. When meanwhile, you look ridiculous.
Yeah, he did.
And then, the juxtaposition of actual monsters, actual people that go out and hurt women, actual, guys that hate women so much, they do terrible, terrible things to them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think I loved, the different ways the movie showed this. And also because, in effect, we have two killers in this movie. And I also like that. It's not just, the one wasn't just there for, distract from, so that we can have the big twist in the end. I thought that it showed how, the monsters come in different forms, you know? And I just love that. There's really a lot in this movie. Sorry if I'm going on about it.
No, absolutely. And I like that I was watching this video about this film because I just want to get more extras, so I try to hunt down every interview I could find. And someone said that the guy in the trailer was what John would become in a few years if he just kept going down with alcoholism and drugs and his dad dying. So they said, I don't know, no one ever says that or goes that way, but I mean, he has that temper, he has the anger, he has been known to drink, the loneliness. Exactly. Yeah. He might not have his daughter, he doesn't have his wife, so they're saying he's kind of that's what could be him in a few years with his anger. I don't know if that's true, but I like that theory is around that people could possibly draw from. And I'm kind of ashamed because the first time I watched this with the really tall, what's the word? He does all the taxidermy. This guy, remember when he's in his truck in the beginning yelling about his wife? Mm-hmm. And then he's under arrest and he's yelling about his wife. And then he's like, yeah, I'm not married. But also throughout the film, at the second funeral, he's sitting behind John. And they slowly focus onto him. He's in the pew behind him. Yeah. Which I thought was interesting. And then, he wrote the book about taxidermy. And then you see the photocopies. So John's kind of getting there, but it's really interesting how they build towards the crime because Jim does say that he loves Zodiac, so he wanted to make Zodiac with humor, like a funny Zodiac is kind of what he wanted. And so he said he based this movie on 5 different films. That he drew influence from 5 films, and those are Zodiac, The Burbs, King of the Hill, Silence of the Lambs, and The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. I'm going to have to edit this and fix that correct word in here. But
you keep that in.
No way. Yes. Wait. So I'll come back and fix that. It'll sound horrible too. People are like, wait, what is that? I mean, you could see the Zodiac vibes in here, the kind of cold type acting, but then also you get the kind of Tom Hanks. You know, Tom Hanks in A League of Their Own. And when he was younger, he did have this fun sort of angry streak. Like Forrest Gump beat the crap out of people. So he has this interesting cold Fincher vibe, but then you also have some Hanks Ian type stuff. And then some definite Silence of the Lamb vibes, because that dude is creepy when he walks up to the woman in the diner and he talks about her car. I mean, that's a,
Oh,
yeah. And
that scene was so good. Again, very relatable. Like how women need to like try and be polite because, if you just say it to them straight, Lord knows what the man will do. But then she's also like dropping like, yeah, no, me and my husband plan to send our girl to elementary. It's so good. Like, so it's little detail that just shows he knew what he was doing when he wrote this. Like, yeah, I like smart movies. I like it when you can see people know what they're talking about. Like, and this movie was respectful as well. But listen, back to also the taxidermist, right? Did you see his face? So, okay, the first shot we have after we have the beautiful opening scene with all the shots from the ski town. The first shot we see of the cabin, we've got like the taxidermy animals in the cabin before PJ and Brienne enters. So we've got that already. And then when she's walking outside looking to turn on the hot tub water, like she's holding a piece of paper from a, like, welcome to the cabin thing, like a thingy, where she's reading the directions to where to go to open, and his face is on that paper.
Oh.
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
Go check it out.
All right, I gotta go watch it again.
His face is on something later on, even before the taxidermy book. I can't remember. I made a note of it somewhere. But yeah, and then it's like, he's that typical like serial killer mentality, like told the cops when they were doing that string of interviews with people and like what they think and what they saw and blah, blah, blah. And he's also there. And he was like, yeah, I could have solved this already. And he was at the scene of the crime. And like, it's that typical serial killer vibe that was in there, which is cool.
Yeah, he comes back to the scene like, and then he stands up to full height and then stabs him against the wall.
Like, how tall is that guy? I also love
the behind the scenes clips. He's a tall dude. He's big, and they put him in the suit. They built the suit around him. Like his movements were really good. They did some behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, a big dude did it. It's cool.
Yeah, it's very good.
And poor John got stabbed into a wall. Oh man, he is a little guy, so I guess a big serial killer could do that to him.
Yeah, I mean, and with that force, because like, yeah, that dude just wants to rip people apart. And you know what, you said this thing about like, you wonder how werewolf fans would like enjoy it. I mean, I love werewolf movies. I love the myth of werewolves, but because it comes from us at the end of the day anyway. So, and I mean, he's got that whole thing where it's like, okay, so werewolves in what does he say, the 18th century, when they found women in the woods and they couldn't believe men would do it. So they made up this whole thing about werewolves. And like, I mean, the whole lore is about us anyway. So I think if you're going to have a problem with that, then yeah, I don't really know what to tell you.
Did women have to deal with that since like the medieval ages?
Very good response. A very good response.
I love her reactions in this. She's just funny, just to everything he says. But I got to tell you, there's a couple things I really like about Jim Cummings. And it's like, I was watching a lot of the behind the scenes footage, but what I love about Thunder Road, it was a short, and then he did a feature length, which was funded on Kickstarter. He eventually got that made, then he made this. And what I love too is that they had to do some reshoots. And he said that the reshoots were the hardest part because when he wrote the script, it was freeing, it was creative, it was liberating. But he said the reshoots felt like an assignment. And the scenes that they added in when he was back at AA, so the AA room's the same room that deputy or whatever sheriff Julia is looking through all the evidence at the end, same room. But he said that was the hardest stuff to write because it felt like an assignment. And I get that, right? When you and I have inspiration, it really the writing flows from us. But when you get assigned some things, it's great because it's money. But it's also a little harder because it's not totally organic coming from us in like a creative zone. I thought that was pretty interesting that he said.
Yeah, no, totally. That's very relatable. I mean, it's fine and whatever, and you get that it needs to be done, but it kind of feels almost separated from the work in a way. Like these little things that you go add into. So yeah, no, that makes sense.
It's just a neat thing. And then also I guess in the script, or maybe they filmed it, but when she's in the car with John, when it's with Julia and John in the car, she says to him, "This is a job. It's tough. You're going to have to get used to it." And this is when Jim has been drinking. He hasn't gone back to AA. He's still, having a lot of issues. In the original cut,